It was a gray and solemn afternoon in Mytischi, north of Moscow, the kind of day when the sky hangs low, threatening snow. I was a young altar attendant back then assisting the rector, Father Anatoly, at the Church of the Mother of God. He was a man of deep faith and unshakable composure, a shepherd who carried the burdens of his parishioners as though they were his own. That day, a man arrived at the church, his face pale and drawn with despair. He was perhaps in his mid-40s, with unkempt hair and trembling hands. Without preamble, he walked straight up to Father Anatoly and said, "Father, life is too hard. Bless me to hang myself." I froze where I stood, holding the censer. The air seemed to thicken as the words hung in the stillness of the church. Father Anatoly, however, didn't flinch. He motioned for the man to sit and listen to him intently, his face calm but grave. The man poured out his sorrow, speaking of insurmountable debts, a broken family, and the crushing weight of loneliness. "I see no point in going on," he said, his voice cracking. Father Anatoly sighed deeply and began to explain that suicide was not the answer, that life is a sacred gift from God, and that despair was a weapon of the evil one. But the man refused to be consoled. He insisted, almost begged, for the priest's blessing to end his life. Then came a moment that, even now, I cannot fully understand. Father Anatoly leaned forward, his voice steady but firm, and said, "All right, if you insist, but when you hang yourself, say these words: 'Lord, I give my spirit to you and my body to you, demons.'" The man blinked, startled. "Say that?" "Yes," Father Anatoly replied, his tone unwavering. The man nodded, as if satisfied, and left the church. I stood there stunned. Was this truly happening? Why would Father Anatoly say such a thing? Later, I would understand that Father Anatoly must have begun praying fervently for the man the moment he left. But at that time, all I felt was confusion and fear. 2 days passed. I couldn't shake the encounter from my mind, and neither, it seemed, could Father Anatoly. During those days, he spent long hours in prayer, his lips silently moving as he stood before the icons. Then, late in the afternoon, the church doors burst open. The same man stumbled in, disheveled and wild-eyed, trembling like a leaf caught in the wind. He ran to Father Anatoly, collapsing at his feet, and began to speak in a frantic rush. "Father, forgive me," he cried. "I did what you said. I went home, stood on the stool, and put the noose around my neck and said the words you told me. 'Lord, I give my spirit to you and my body to you, demons.'" He paused, shuddering at the memory. And then I felt the icy coldness of some beings next to me. They were there, Father. Cold, dark, hateful things. I knew they were demons. They laughed at me and said, "What do we need your stinking body for? We want your soul." The man buried his face in his hands, sobbing. I was so terrified I jumped out of the noose and ran back here as fast as I could. Father Anatoly knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Do you understand now?" he asked gently. The man nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Yes, Father. God saved me. He didn't let me go through with it. Please, help me. Teach me how to live again." Over the following weeks, the man became a regular presence at the church. He attended every service, seeking guidance and solace. Father Anatoly never spoke of the incident again, but I often saw him watching the man with a quiet smile, his prayers for him unceasing. Years later, after Father Anatoly's passing, I sometimes thought about that moment. It was a mystery to me, the way he handled the situation. But one thing was clear: God's grace had worked through him to save that man. The demons might seek to destroy us, but God always finds a way to reach out, even in the darkest of moments. If this story touched you, remember to like and subscribe.